Hello, ma'am. Send me gift cards and your credit card numbers over the phone.
Once Chance Wilder gets all of her information, we're going on a shopping spree. I'm talking Gucci, Fendi, and Prada.
I'll send the police to your house.
You mean to tell me that if I don't send you my credit card numbers over the phone, you're gonna come to my house and arrest me?
Absolutely. I love shopping on Amazon Prime, especially when everything is free 99.
I can't believe people are so gullible.
Sergeant, be safe. You're right on time. Can you help me?
I sure can. Hello, Wild Chance.
Oh no. Sergeant,
Right.
be safe.
Never give out any credit card information over the phone.
I can't believe you led Be Safe right to us. Run, you fool.
Me? It isn't my fault. It was your idea.
You're caught and going back to jail. Remember, folks, don't buy gift cards and give that or credit card information over the phone, especially to a stranger. It could be Chance Wilder and his partner getting ready to rob you blind. Remember, take it from me, Sergeant Be Safe, and that'll be your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
Let's go start the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning into another weekly episode of Black and Blue. I am your host, Coach Clee. Some of you know me from the lab. Others of you know me from here. This podcast, Black and Blue. This is an exciting podcast where we highlight individuals in the law enforcement and first responder community, whether they're rookie, whether they're seasoned, whether they're retirees, and their experiences, their trainings, or their publications. So many wonderful things are discussed on this platform. So make sure you guys get your questions ready. Like I said, I'm your host, Coach Cleus, your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker. And I just want to let you know that I cannot see who's on here. So if you want that shout out that you're looking for, or like this is going to be an interactive live. If you have a question, you're going to have to put it in the comments section, and I'll go ahead and I'll address that. I'll give you the shout out, or we'll answer your question, or that that topic that you bring up in front of us. Okay, we're streaming on 5 different platforms right now. We're on 2 on Facebook, 1 on LinkedIn, and 2 on YouTube itself. So if you haven't already done so, make sure, like you see, hit the like button and share this podcast so we can get that message out. Our goal is to humanize the badge and bring forth information in the law enforcement community that you may or may not be aware of. All right, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Like you saw Sergeant Be Safe. He'll be doing commercial skits in between between this interview. So make sure you guys check him out. His first children's book, The Rough Draft, is still being completed. It should be hitting, hopefully soon, be hitting the streets very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said before, this is sponsored by One Way Publishing. And the website's not scrolling below, but it's in the comment section. Make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you check the website out, not now, but after the end of this interview, okay? One Way Publishing sponsors this platform, sponsors Sergeant Be Safe. And like you see the books behind us, we have clients. I produce 5 books from One Way Publishing. Their motto is they can turn a mere thought and turn it into a book that's bought. So if you ever thought about writing a book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, cookbook, self-help, whatever it may be, they can get that done for you. So make sure you check that out. But I said enough about that. Make sure you guys check out this commercial, and it does feature Sergeant Be Safe. Welcome to One Way Publishing. I'm Sergeant Be Safe, and over there you see Captain Chaos with the K9 Kraken. One Way Publishing has great deals, so we're over here typing up our own books. Everyone has a story to tell, and who better to write the story of your life than you? Even if it's a fiction make-believe book, it can still get done. Here at One Way Publishing, they pride themselves on turning a mere thought into a book that's bought. So Kraken, what do you think about that? Just imagine going to the bookstore and seeing the book that you wrote on the shelves. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way. Make sure you check out the website workwithlee.com. And like you guys know, we haven't gone live in over a week. We go live weekly with the special guests, like I said, and we experienced a little bit of technical difficulty prior to the show. So hopefully all that's worked out, and we will be able to drive forward with the show, because I have an exciting guest. I'm excited to introduce him. I'm excited to have him on the show. I hope you guys are too. He's got a story to tell. It's a tremendous story to tell. I got to listen to his audio book sometime earlier last week, and it's mind-blowing. His story is mind-blowing, and he's here to share it. He's a husband. He's a father. He's worked 18 years either in a detention facility or as a deputy sheriff down in Florida. He's also an author of I'm Still Standing. Let me see if I can put this back up here. Wrong button. I'm Still Standing, the audio book itself. And it's a book that explains. Here, it's a picture of him, and that's a picture of the book itself. I got mine on Amazon. Make sure you guys check that out too on Amazon too. But his name, Raymond Hicks. And some of you may know him, others of you may not, but we are going to go ahead and we're going to bring him to the platform. There's the book. There's that. You know, it's a lot of things to do when it's a one-man rock band, but we're going to bring him to the platform. Hopefully everything's working out good. Raymond, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for making yourself available and tuning into the show.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, my brother, for this opportunity. You know, we're having difficulties here with the internet services, but by the grace of God, you know, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and this is a blessing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we jump into getting to know you a little bit more and hearing your story, Sergeant Be Safe wants to introduce you and welcome you to the platform.
Okay, so. Sergeant Be Safe.
Excuse me, madam. You're standing still in a no parking zone. If you don't get a move on that body, I'll be forced to give you a ticket. Hey.
Hello, this Listen, Sergeant, be safe. And I want to welcome all you viewers and our very special guests to Black and Blue. So get your questions ready and enjoy the show.
Film Pack.
Subscribe now.
Film Pack.
I swear, if I go beyond the 7 days with going live, then I have so much technical difficulty and all that. But we're going to get the show going on, and then we're going to have a good time doing it. Mr. Hicks, thank you for making yourself available. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, first and foremost, my name is Raymond Hicks, and I was born in Vero Beach, Florida. I grew up in a place called Guilford, and also here in Fort Lauderdale. And of course, I've been married now for 37 years. My wife and I have been together for 39 years. I have three beautiful kids. I have a 36-year-old daughter, a 30-year-old daughter, and a 20-year-old son. Okay. And of course, I was actually raised also here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And as a young kid, I always decided that if I didn't play professional football, I would come back here and make this, go into law enforcement and make this my home.
Right. Absolutely. And from reading your book, and I don't want to give too many pearls and gems because I want the audience to make sure that they get a copy of it yourself. I know that you talk about how you were an athlete in school and you prided yourself on being, you had a nice stature, you were athletic, and you tried out for a couple professional football teams, mainly down there in Florida, the Dolphins itself. Sorry, it was hard to say. That's not one of my teams.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. I played high school football at Vero Beach High School. Of course, I won the most athletic award throughout the entire school. I graduated in 1984. I was a standout basketball player, football player, and also track. I shattered so many records in track, and then I earned a scholarship to go to Southern Missouri, University of Southern Missouri. And of course, I always decided that if I didn't play professional football, I would go into law enforcement. If I did work out with the Miami Dolphins in 1990, I left the Broward Sheriff Office for a short time. I was invited to the camp by Charlie. Charlie Winters was the director of player personnel. Okay. And of course, I played arena ball for the Predators, Orlando Predators. And if you go to Google, you type in Dream Seeker Raymond Hicks, you can read about, me working out with the Predators until I cracked my ribs in camp and they placed me on a waiver. So I left the department like 3 times. I got hired with the Broward Sheriff Office 11/17/1986 as a detention officer. Mm-hmm. And I decided that, later I wanted to go to road patrol. And that's where all my problems began, But going back from when I grew up, I was about maybe 8 or 9 and they were stabbing, cutting. My mother was shot. My dad went to prison. So I always remember. Yeah, so I always remember the cops coming to the home, and when there was complete chaos in my home, they would pull me aside, from the madness. And, of course, they talked to me about the importance of, the gun, the handcuff, and back then it was the blackjack, which was 2 leather strapped with the steel at the end. And, of course, they spoke to me about that. And I said if I didn't play professional football, which that was my aspiration, because I always promised my mother that one day I wanted to build her the biggest home that she ever dreamt of, and of course, that didn't fall through for me. And I decided to go into law enforcement. And, just to let you know, I hope I can call you Sarge. A lot of people in my family, they didn't care for cops. I remember when I was about maybe 10, 11 years of age, they had fights with the police. And I said, why are they fighting with the police? They was beating the cops up and everything when they were trying to arrest my cousin. Her name was Christine McBurrow. They call her BAP, and they were trying to put her in the backseat of the car. And my family started fighting with them. And I'm saying to myself, like, why my family fighting with the cops? They good people, man, and but again, it's in spite of everything that you're going to hear me speak about today, Mr. Tillman, I still love law enforcement. It did a lot for me and my family. There's a lot of great men and women that wear the uniform on to make a difference in society. And I was one of them. I was one of them, sir.
Absolutely. And reading through your book, I remember you explaining the story with your dad on how you said that he did not like law enforcement. He despised them. And that kind of drove you because you wanted to prove to him or prove to your family that there are good, even though despite things that you've seen and went through and experienced, there are good law enforcement officers out there, and you being included among them.
You're absolutely correct. My dad hated cops, and he always theorized how he'll blow a cop brains out, you know. And I said, Dad, you know, the cops are good people, you know. And you know, granted, I come from the gutter. You know, Sergeant Tillman, I came from the gutter, man. I come from the hood, you know, where I may have gone to bed with the ketchup sandwich, the mayonnaise sandwich. You know, my mom, she worked 2 jobs. I didn't have a father in my home, you know. So to be honest with you, it was really a lot of people that in my family, you know, they've been in and out of prison, man. If they hadn't been in and out of prison and jails, you know, they're deceased now, you know. And it's just a shame, it's a disgrace that what you're about to hear me speak about today, you know, it's heart-wrenching, you know, and it should have never happened to me because I proved to my father beyond a reasonable doubt. And he learned from other people who have actually went through the system. They say, man, your son is one of the best deputies that I've ever come in contact with. And I've changed the mindset of a lot of individuals. I'm talking about criminals that have gone to prison like 2 or 3 times, 4 times. And you know, but by the grace of God, I was able to inspire them and say, listen, I didn't want to become a product of my environment, but I wanted my environment to become a product of who I am. So a lot of times, you know, we take on these jobs, you know, with the expectation that we can go out there and make a difference, you know, but then you also have these clandestines that wear the uniform that think that they can just go out there and humiliate people and degrade, you know, their name, the company the department that they work for, as well as the badge, you know, and I'm not that kind of person, sir.
Right. Absolutely. Got to correct you, though. I appreciate the promotion, but I'm not a sergeant, though. But I do appreciate the title.
Okay.
It's all right, though.
All right, Mr. Tillman.
Not a problem. Not a problem. But let me ask you this. Once you decided to get into law enforcement, was there any kind of mentors or anyone that kind of took you under their wing that you modeled yourself after, that you wanted to be like, so you could grow through the profession and the public and other officers or deputies could emulate you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, well, first of all, my MVP is my mother. You know, that's my MVP, you know, because I watched her go through hell and high water, you know, in order for her to take care of me and my other siblings and, you know, to inspire in me the different characteristics and traits of life. And also there was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Bob. Okay. And Mr. Bob was a Caucasian gentleman from New York. And he said that, you know, there was me and 4 other gentlemen that he felt like could make it in life, you know, coming from the hood. And a lot of people thought Mr. Bob was crazy because he was Caucasian. And they was like, man, is this dude crazy or what, man? You know, they don't come into our area, but Mr. Bob was just that kind of, he was that kind of gentleman, you know, and I'm that Mr. Bob today. So the same thing that he have done for me to inspire, you know, young underprivileged kids, you know, is something that I've taken on, you know, me and my family to this day. And also there was a teacher named Miss Kirby. And I remember her when I was about, maybe, I don't know, about 8 or 9, 10, 11, somewhere around up in there. She used to ask us to read a sentence and in front of the class. And of course I couldn't read because my dad dropped out in 3rd grade. My mom dropped out in the 7th grade. My dad couldn't read or write, couldn't even spell his own name, you know. Wow. And of course, you know, I had no one to help me with my homework. So Miss Kirby, she was the one who tutored me. And she said, you know, Raymond, every time I ask you to read a sentence, you always get into a fight. You know, you come here. She said, you're very respectful, you know, but you always fighting. But, you know, to be honest with you, Mr. Tillman, I've been fighting since I was 6 years of age. That's something that my dad taught me ever since I was a little kid. He bought me a Sockenbakum, and every time you turn around, I was, you know, every which way that ball went, you know, my dad made sure that I touched it in some form of fashion. So she said, you know what, young man? She said, you come here. And I began to tell her about what was going on in my home. Then I said, Miss Kirby, I don't have no one to help me with my homework. You know, and she said, oh my God. So when I began to tell about some of the events that took place in my home, you know, she took the initiative to tutor me. So I went from D's and F's to C's and D's to C's and B's to A, B's and C's until I earned myself a scholarship to go to college. I'm one of the first ones in my family to actually graduate high school and to go to college.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. My uncles, all my uncles, my aunts on my mother and my father's side, neither one of them graduated high school until eventually my wife, my daughter, and we helped my mom get a high school diploma, and we helped my brother get his GED.
Okay. More examples of giving back. Absolutely. And I want
Yes,
to
sir.
give a shout out. I see Shayla's on here. She said hello from PSU. Yep. And former guest on the show, Frederick Douglass Reynolds. He said, I see you. Keep up the good work. And he sent a message to you as well. Hats off to you, Mr. Hicks. He salutes you. He's a fellow author himself. He's out there in the Los Angeles area. And you mentioned another name as in Bob. Would that been Bob Ledegar?
Yes, man. I love Bob Ladegar. You know, it's because of him that I'm in contact with you. You know, him, Mr. Mike Zoomer. You know, when I reached out to them, and of course they was on a round table listening to me with a young lady by the name of Miss Jackie Garrett. You know, she interviewed me, and that's how I came in contact with Mr. Bobby Ladegar, and of course. He said, man, let me put you in contact with Mr. Tillman, and he's a former cop, whatnot. You know, he has a platform and you can talk to them about what went on in your life. And also I listened to his entire interview with you as well, which was very powerful. I just think it's unfortunate how these departments, subject a lot of us to harsh punishment, man, that's not warranted.
Right. Yeah, he was on here about 2 weeks ago, and his story is amazing too. And I know he's in the middle of fighting a battle as well. And he's in the process of writing a book about his experiences, and you've already done so.
Well, the reason to be honest with you, one of the court-appointed attorney enticed me. He said, man, on the manuscript, write down everything that happened, because this could possibly be a bestseller book, maybe a movie. And wow. He took me back to court and got off my case. So I took his advice, and I just began to start writing some things down. And that's what formulated the title of the book, I'm Still Standing, by Raymond Hicks.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about how all things got started? I know, I don't want to give too much away. It's your story. And plus I'll probably chop it up. How did you start being investigated on?
Well, first of all, I started working out in the jail. I was a highly decorated officer. I was a Gold Cross recipient, Silver Cross recipient, 2-time Deputy of the Month. And a lot of my friends that I grew up with here in Fort Lauderdale, they used to come in and out the system. So one of the guys, his name is Gaston Akins. We call him G Fresh. He had a shootout with the former sheriff, Scott Israel, when Scott was just a regular patrolman for the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I said, G, what are you doing, man? I said, every time you turn around, man, you constantly in and out the system. What about your wife and kids, man? I said the recidivism rate is continuously growing by a vast number. You got to change your life around, man. And make a long story short, he was one of the ones that I've inspired. And you're going to learn later that he actually became my boss. But anyway, I began to speak out against corruption within my department, where they was planting drugs and beating young black offenders to the ground and taking money from them. They also had a pyramid scheme where there was 200 some employees and involved in this pyramid scheme, where each person would bring $1,000 to the pot, which is punishable up on the I forget what statute it was, but it's punishable up on the 5 years in Florida State Prison and a $5,000 fine. A lot of men and women out of Miami was actually arrested for the same thing that some of these people at the Broward Sheriff Office were doing. And when I began to speak out against everything that I saw, they came after me, especially when I was working with Drug Task Force, OCD, and the Cradle. Within 1,000 feet of the school, 3 years in state penitentiary. And that's where my dilemma began. But I should have just stayed in the jail. I actually, let me just back up for a second. When I left the jail, they started pulling me out of the jail in 1990. And they had a sting operation. So they use a lot of us from detention to go out and pose as undercover sellers. If you was from the street like I am, and you knew the street lingo, like we go to different areas and we're like, hey, my nigga, I got them parlays. What's happening, man? And of course, we making different transactions with these individuals and whatnot. And we also had like informants, where we were sending informant to certain particular locations. Yep. And that informant was a paid informant. And on the drugs that we were giving them, on the Ziploc package, it had a serial number and the money was marked. So we were sending an informant into the location. That person would go in and make the transaction and come back and give us the intel about who either he or she that they made contact with, and we would move in and to put these people into custody. So when the commander would give us the rocks to sell, I watched some of my colleagues, again, plant drugs, take money, beat young black offenders to the ground. And I just told them that it was morally wrong and totally unethical, and I was not going to indulge in that practice. And I said, listen, they was keeping the money, Mr. Tillman. I'm saying to myself, at the end of the night, everything has to be tallied up. All the drugs and the money has to go in a manila folder with the red tape says evidence. Mm-hmm. But these people was keeping the money. And I said, you guys are no different than the people that we just arrested. Yeah. And they told me, you need to mind your own business. I said, what do you mean mind my business? So to be honest with you, I would have never thought in a million years, man, that I would go through what I'm about to explain to you tonight, sir, in reference to what my department subjected to me and my family to. And of course, I just spoke out against the things that I saw that was wrong. They say when you see something, you say something. According to the policy, I don't have it in front of me right now, but the policy says that if you see something going on, within the department that's not right, you need to bring it to your sergeant's attention.
Right.
And that's what I did. I brought it to the sergeant's attention, the lieutenant, and up to the captain. But these people told me to mind my business. The next thing you know, they searched my car without probable cause or a search warrant, theorizing that I must have been selling drugs. And when my brother called me, he said, man, y'all know who this is. This is my brother's car. He worked for the sheriff department. Mm-hmm. So I went to the location where he was. I called communication, and I asked him to have the sergeant 1056 me at my 1020 to meet me at my location. Mm-hmm. And the sergeant never showed up. So I called the lieutenant and told him about it. And next thing you know, he says, Ray, when you get a chance, go to Internal Affairs and file a complaint, which is what I did. Uh-huh. And next thing you know, all hell broke out, man, But I watched these people plant drugs and beat young black offenders to the ground and take money. And I told them that I was not going to indulge in that practice. And I guess they felt like I was going to throw them under the bus. And this is what their way of coming after me, trying to destroy my life, man.
The repercussions of it, absolutely. And we're going to jump right into it. We're going to dive into the meat and potatoes of the story here. We got to pause for the calls because we got to give a shout out to our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, madam. You're standing still in a no parking zone. If you don't get a move on that body, I'll be forced to give you a ticket.
Hey, it's Sergeant BC.
Danger! Danger!
Excuse me, ma'am. The sign says no parking.
I'm not parking. I'm just running into Dunkin' Buck to get my coffee.
You are parked. You're outside of your vehicle and you're illegally parked in a fire lane. Parking in a proper spot and taking a few extra steps is not going to make you late for work. Matter of fact, here comes the fire truck now and you're in the way. This is going to cause a problem. I may need to just have this vehicle towed so the fire department can get in here and deal with this emergency. If the sign says no parking, do as it says. Don't park there.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. It would be my fault if a tragedy happened. Thanks for not giving me a ticket, Sergeant Be Safe. Now I know for next time.
Well, just consider this your warning, and definitely let this be the last time. I'm Sergeant Be Safe, and it may seem minor, but it's very important. Make sure you park legally. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back after that commercial. We're back in the on the platform with Black and Blue with Raymond Hicks and his story, I'm Still Standing. And he's getting ready to discuss it now. He just told us about his experiences with the deputy department while he was on he's witnessed some things while he was on the narcotics unit. He went to IA to go report those things that he witnessed that he wouldn't be a part of. He waited to share this information and was told to mind his own business, went to IA to file complaints. And this is where we're jumping back into. After you went to IA to file those complaints, how did things snowball negatively in your direction?
Well, the Sergeant Charles Tate said to me, he's had other complaints about those individuals that searched my car without a search warrant. Okay. And he said he was going to conduct a thorough investigation. Okay. Well, even though my investigation wanted attention, at no time did they never investigate my situation. And of course, next thing you know, they tell me, well, Miss Ray, you can't work out on the streets anymore. I said, okay, it's no problem with me. You know, I had gone through the Crossover Academy in 1996. And again, I went back out there in 1998, you know, to begin to start working with narcotics again. And of course, this is when they tell me that, you know, they didn't want me working out there in the streets anymore and they were going to put me back in the jail. And I said, well, I started in the jail anyway. Okay. So you can I don't care about you put me back in the jail. And next thing you know, 60 cops, man. I go June 15, 2000. I go to work. I'm working on either 5th or 6th floor. I come home. I take a shower. I get in bed. I lie down. And of course, I'm actually, I always take a nap before I get up and go work out. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of weights in my backyard. So my neighbor and I, we was getting ready to work out around about 5:30. Mm-hmm. And I looked across the street. There was at the sit-go, and there was either the SWAT team or the drug task force mounting up. So I told my neighbor, I said, man, I said, man, that look like the drug task force or the SWAT team. I wonder where they going. So when they saw me, they all jumped in their vehicles and sped down the back street. So I told my neighbor, I said, man, let's go to the front of my yard and see where they're going. So of course, when I begin to go to the front of my yard, you know, they jumped the gate, the back wall. You know, and they stormed me and had me and my kids at gunpoint. My wife had gone to, they had me and my wife and me and my kids at gunpoint. My wife had went to Winn-Dixie, you know. So of course, I don't know which one of my daughter was. I'm assuming my older daughter. She went and called my wife to tell her what was going on. You know, they had over 60-some cops, man, storm me at gunpoint and asked me, "Are you Ray Hicks?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Ray Hicks, man. You guys know I'm Ray Hicks. What's the problem? We got a warrant for your arrest." They never showed me no warrant. I said, warrant for what? So here come this black dude named Ricky Clark. He come patting me at my shoulders, assuring me that everything was going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know, I said, Ricky, what is this about? You know, we got a warrant for your, I said, for what? What did I do? And then he told me, Ray, just calm. I'm like, what you mean calm down, Ricky? Mm-hmm. What the frick you mean calm down? I said, you guys storm my home and you tell me there's a warrant for my arrest? I said, what did I do?
Mm-hmm. And how old were your kids at the time?
My kids were 12 and 7.
Okay. And I know that you expressed, they never got to express their feelings about the whole situation either, have they?
No. My wife hasn't been able to speak about it. My kids haven't been able to speak about it. And it's a shame. It's a disgrace. Even my mother told him, she said, I'll put my head up on a chopping block and you can take my head off if you can show me that son there committed the crimes that they said he committed, not him.
What crimes?
She said, I'm going to put my life on the line for this.
What crimes did they accuse you of?
They charged, well, first of all, they go in there, they asked me if David Robshaw from Internal Affairs said, Ray, we're going to suspend you pending the outcome of this case. Mm-hmm. And he asked me if I had any guns in my house. I said, yeah, I got guns in my house. They belong to me. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they go in there, you rip up my home. This before my wife get there, you know, and they started telling me, you know, Ray, I said, listen, man, I will go in there and get whatever it is that you guys want me to get. No, we don't want you to get anything. Where's the IDs? So they went in there, they're looking for all this stuff. And to answer your question, they never told me what they was arresting me for. Because had they did it that day, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Because I ain't never been in trouble in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And they never told me what they was arresting me for. They waited until they put me in the unmarked on a marked cruiser, took me over to District 5 and booked me in there. Then they later took me over to the city jail, and I'm still asking the question, like, what did I do wrong? So the next morning, the marshal shows up. I'm like, what are the marshals doing here? So they say, Ray, we're here to take you to court. I'm like, for what? I said, this must be serious.
Right.
So, of course, they take me to court. My wife and my mom is there. So the prosecutor, she says, when Mr. Hicks is at work, he's in the top 10% of his department. But when he's not at work, he's into other curricular activity. And she said that I went to various states delivering 350 kilograms of cocaine that was equivalent to $750 million.
Wow. Wow. And that was all because you were working out at a local gym?
Yes, I was actually working out at a gym where everybody was working out there. There was professional athletes from the Miami Dolphins, Washington Redskins, Houston Oilers back in the days. And I know all of these individuals. All of us was working out there. It was free. But they tried to say that we had some type of drugs going on at the warehouse, which was a lie. We was all working out, and it was free. They when I tell you they had the state of the equipment, Mr. Tillman, they had the state of the equipment in that place. It was a place where you can come get your car washed, you can play pool, you can work out. You know, it was just one of those type of warehouses, and they tried to make it seem like, there was drug transaction going on in there, which was a lie.
Okay. And so after you got booked with the department that booked you in, take us through what happened there after that. Were you able to make bail, get released, or did you have to sit in a cell for an unreasonable amount of time?
No. So what happened was the judge slammed the gavel and said, "You're not a flight risk, but you're a menace to society." I'm saying, how can I'm a menace to society when in fact that I was a highly decorated officer. I risked my life when I went out there. You don't have to take my word. You can ask some of my sergeants who have come forth now and spoke to other individuals like Mr. Tom Devine and Robert Ward, who's actually trying to get me in front of Congress, and he coming forth now because he's retired, and he ain't worrying about the retaliation or repercussion. And he said, man, Hicks was one of the best. So in a way, the judge says, you're not a flight risk, but you're a menace to society. And she gave me a no bond hold, and they transported me to the federal prison.
Federal prison. Wow.
Yeah, the federal detention center down in Miami.
Okay.
And when I get there, they treat me like I was the lowest scum on the face of this earth.
Right. And how long were you in their custody?
Almost 16 and a half months. Almost 2 years.
Wow. And of those 2 years, I'm assuming that basically you were on you were released from your department or on administrative leave or suspension or something. Basically, no income was coming in from your department, correct?
No, sir. There was no income coming in to my family from my department. And even while I was there incarcerated, they put me in a hole for 5 months, total darkness. Wow. 23-hour day, 1 hour a day for recreation, solitary confinement.
Wow.
And they couldn't. Yeah, so they were trying to break me mentally, but they couldn't break me mentally. So then, and the officer was jigging at me every single day. If you that cricket cop, you that effing cop, I hope you're gone for the rest of your life, And it got to a point where I started pushing the emergency button inside the unit. Because right now, I'm ready to fight with all of these people, man. I started doing like 1,000, 1,500 push-ups every other night. Because I'm conditioning my body and I'm conditioning my mind that at some point I'm gonna have to go to war with these people, because every day they was constantly just jigging at me for no reason. So eventually, Captain Fernandez, who I'll never forget the longest day I live, and when God blessed me, he blessed that man and his family, because I'm gonna go find him. And he gave me a phone call so I could speak to my wife and kids. And of course, I thought as I began to speak to my wife and kids about what was going on, he says, Ray, the only other option you have, man, is to go down to general population. I said, I don't care where you put me, man. And of course, they put me down in general population. I was there with 8 inmates that I had arrested or I was over when I worked in the jail.
Right.
And every last one of them gave me the utmost respect, except for this one guy. He saw my picture paraded over the newscast and gonna tell me, you that effing cop. So one of the dudes who knew me from the street, we call him Blind, but his name was Maurice. He said, man, you know who that is? That's Big Hicks, man. He gonna thump. You tripping. He come from where we come from. He said, F him. I hate effing cops. So I go to put my bedroll down in my cell, And when I turn around, there's 122 inmates in the unit and one officer. So I go to put my bedroll down, and as I put my bedroll down, there he is. So I told him, I said, dude, you got a problem with me? You can come on here and we can handle this like men. He was about 6'4", 270. I was 6'1", 290. And of course, all the inmates are like, yeah, big man, you running your mouth. You going on in there. And he tried to arrest me because that's what most big people do. But what he didn't realize, I had good, man. I literally tried to kill him, Mr. Tillman.
Wow.
I tried to beat him to death. I tried to put my fist through his brains, man.
Wow. That's got to be something just to live through that actually have to go through the highs and lows of that, being arrested, put in a hole, and then going to Gen Pop, and then while in Gen Pop being recognized, and then somebody still pushing your buttons.
But see, that's what happens in the system, though. Every day, man, there's a fight, or somebody getting stabbed, or somebody getting cut, or somebody getting raped. That's an everyday thing, man. Because people dealing with all different types of situations. I've seen people taking trazodone and dioxazepine, one of the strongest anti-drug medication, man, that make a person sleep, and they sleeping for days, man, just to cope with the situation that they was going through. It's unbelievable of the stuff that you witness and you see in there, man. I would have never known. I remember Mr. James Watts telling me, I said, I know how you feel, Mr. Watts. He said, no, you don't know how I feel, Deputy Hicks. He said, you won't know how I feel until you're in a situation like what we're in. And you know what? I didn't understand. I really didn't understand what he was conveying to me when I was a deputy working in the jail over these guys, man. But everything he said, it was true to me. Because I understood when I became an inmate myself, it's not easy, man. Right. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be honest with you, especially being a cop, man.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. I can only empathize. I'm sorry. I know, like you said, so one of the things that helped get you through, I'm imagining, is like you said in your book, you would become the jailhouse lawyer. The other inmates that weren't represented or underrepresented, and you actually knew, like, okay, this, and this, you can do this, and this. Is that correct? Absolutely.
So what I did is I requested, because they didn't, a lot of people, they started calling me Big Homie, and after that fight, in the system, you always have a house man, you know what I mean? And of course, they started calling me Big Homie. And to be honest with you, I requested to get a law library brought up to the floor where we were, because a lot of these brothers, man, a lot of these people can't read or write, man. They can't even comprehend nothing. So what they do is they're forced to take plea bargains to avoid facing an increasingly hard sentence, because they cannot afford these high-powered lawyers. And they can't read and comprehend, what it is that they charged with. And they used to trust me with their discovery. That's one thing you don't want to do in the system. It gives someone else your discovery. But right. There was a case where a gentleman named Slim, he was faced with 13 years, and they would charge this man with 0.9 grams of crack cocaine. And I told him, I said, they way outside the guideline, man. They can't give me no 13 years for that. And I did a motion for him, So I got the law library up on the floor, and I began to help these brothers, man, that couldn't read or write or couldn't comprehend, man. And I wrote a motion for him. I said, go give this to your attorney. So his attorney told him, don't trust these jailhouse lawyers. I told him, I said, listen, you can either trust me or you can trust this guy. He wants you to do 13 years. I'm telling you that you've already been down for a couple of years. You go in there and you get, you apply for the drug treatment program. That's going to cut your sentence. Next thing you know, you go to prison, you get a number, and you back out on the streets. I said, because they way outside the guideline, man. They can't charge you with no 13 years for 0.9 grams of crack cocaine. That's ridiculous, man.
Wow. Yeah. So, and hearing stories like that is, on being on, while working the street, you don't know how the system is putting those charges in. And then after those charges go through the DA and through the court system, you don't know, most times, at least from our vantage point, you don't know what the sentences are. You don't know what the punishment is. And for hear an enhancement like that is kind of eyebrow raising for a small amount of a minimum amount of illegal narcotics.
But see, this is what they do, man. It's like some of these cops, they fabricate these PCs, these probable cause affidavit, and what they don't realize is that I don't care who you are. You could be me, my mom, my wife, my kids, or whoever. You know, you do wrong, that you gotta do the time. You did the crime, you gotta do the time. You know, but you're not gonna convince me to say or coerce me to say that I committed a crime that I have not committed, man. And I think it's unfortunate how a lot of these cops, it's called creative writing. You know, they make it seem like the person that created went out there and committed the most heinous crime, when in fact that person may have something very simple, man. You know, and it's just a shame, it's a disgrace. But maybe God sent me there to be that bright light shining for those other brothers that was there.
Yeah, I remember you saying you eventually you saw that you had that light at the end of the tunnel when in some of those moments. And thank you, Tamika, for tuning in. Hello to you. Make sure you tag, like, and share. We're right here in the middle of this interview. I know as you were going through this, how did it feel, and what were some of your experiences when you had to go to your own attorney and your wife and kids only got to visit you? What was it? 1 hour? What was it? Saturdays? No matter, only 4 Saturdays a month. If it was 5, then you just missed out for only 1 hour a day and things along those lines. Is that correct?
Yes. My wife and kids were there almost every Saturday. Come visit me. You know, they had to stand in unpleasant weather. You know, whether it was hot, raining, cold, or whatever the case may be. You know, there was time that my wife and kids, they were treated like they was inmates. You know, my wife used to try and keep my kids into cheering, you know, where they had like little ponytails in their head. And of course, you know, they began to explain to me how, you know, they was like searching them down, you know, thinking that there's a possibility they're trying to bring something into the system. So they had to take all the hairpins and everything out the hair. You know, there was time that my wife would say, you know, Raymond, I don't even have money to get anything like a honey bun or something out of the vending machine. You know, she didn't have enough money to even, you know, get me. I said, love, don't worry about it. You know, but every single time my wife and kids came there, you know,
yeah, I'm sorry I had to go through it.
You know, they constantly telling me, you know, they asked me, Daddy, when you coming home? I said, soon, you know, and no matter when they came to, you know, to see me on a Saturday, and most of the inmates in the unit where I was in 7 West at the Federal Detention Center in Miami. And of course, you know, all the inmates say, man, you know, y'all know when Saturday come around, man, y'all stay from around big homie, man, because y'all know how he get. I used to watch my wife and kids out of the little square window that they had where the lunchroom room were, and see them standing in line waiting to come to see me. Man, it's the most heart-wrenching situation that anybody can ever experience. And to be honest with you, I tell any cop, any sergeant, any lieutenant, any captain, any major, or on up, man, you know, be mindful of what you do to people out on these streets, man. You know, because to be honest with you, it's a shame, it's a disgrace that these people can subject me and my family to this type of punishment for something that I have not done in my entire life, man. It's crazy.
Man, yeah, I can see the emotion coming through. I'm sorry that you and your family had to go through that.
No one should have to go through this, man. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, man. What me and my wife and kids have, you know, if you take for a second, you know, I'm faced with natural life imprisonment without possible parole. That's what they told me. 350 kilograms of cocaine, $750 million. No drugs, no, and I'm saying to myself, this is crazy, man. I never touched drugs unless I was out there working on the streets. I never tried a marijuana cigarette in my life, Mr. Tillman. I never took a drink a day in my life. And I'm in here faced with, you know, and you got to deal with this system, you know, your charges. Then you got to deal with your wife and kids saying, hey, my wife, you know, Raymond, they getting ready to foreclose on the house. Raymond, the cars are being repossessed. Raymond, I can't feed them.
Yeah.
You know, it's been years, man. You know, it's been 21 years since I've been fighting this fight. And I'm saying to myself, I'm innocent of all this stuff that these people have done to me and my family, but yet still there's no accountability. All these people were promoted, you know, and to fast forward, Mr. Tillman, You know, they come to me telling me, oh, well, Mr. Hicks, you've been down for 11 and a half months. You'll do 16 more months and go home. I told him, I said, the devil is a liar. I'm going to trust God. And I tell you as a brother that love you, Mr. Tillman, it's my relationship with God. That I'm able and my family, my wife and my kids and my mother. Because to be honest with you, I ain't never allowed nobody to infringe on me, man. I don't care who you are, where you come from. You know, I told my dad when I was 13 years of age, I said, man, you're not going to keep putting your hands on my mother, man. And when I turned 28, my mother, my wife, and everybody else would tell you. I told him, I said, Dad, if you put your hands on my mother again, I'll blow your freaking brains out, man. And my mom said, whoa, wait a minute, son. I didn't raise you like that. But to be honest with you, I'm telling you, Mr. Tillman, I would never wish this crap on my worst enemy, man. What these people have done to me. You're supposed to be law enforcement officer. We the salt of the earth. We set the tone and the precedent for the people. I tell you what, Mr. Tillman, you don't have to take my word. Get my sergeant on here, James Booker, that I love. Man, when you talk about a good brother, man, I love this dude, man.
Yeah.
You understand me? He was there for me. When I was going through the difficult times, he was there for me and my family. You know, there was other friends of mine that was there, you know, and I just say to myself, but a lot of times, man, God bring you to the lowest point of your life so you can find out who these people are, man. And to be honest with you, I told him, I said, no, I'm not taking no time. So finally, the court-appointed attorney took me back to court and got off the case. He said, I don't want nothing to do with this case. Because I asked him, I said, where's the evidence? No evidence. So they give me another court-appointed attorney. He tried to force me to take time under coercion. Ray, the feds got a 98.8% conviction rate. I said, God got a conviction rate of 0%. I'm going to trial, man. I said, the same thing I told the other court-appointed attorney, I'm telling you the same thing. So finally, my wife went through her thrift savings, and she got she took out, I don't know how much money she took out from her thrift savings, got a former prosecutor who had never lost a case in 15 years. Michael Bloom. And he went to my wife and my mother. He said, I know a drug dealer when I see one, and your son and your husband is not a drug dealer. He said, I'm going to do everything within my power to get him home. And I can tell you right now, that man represented me to the fullest. To the fullest. And the jury, the chief judge who would give you 1,000,000 years, Norman C. Record. And the jury found out, man, that I never did anything wrong, Mr. Tillman. Because he asked him, he said, what are drugs? No drugs. Where the money? No money. And he said, so why is this man here? So they lied and said I was giving confidential law enforcement information, FCIC, NCIC. So my attorney, he subpoenaed the communication operator, Captain Munez. She said, I worked in this capacity for 25 years. Mr. Hicks has not ran this information during this time. And she went on to explain how you run FCIC, NCIC. Mr. Tillman, they had me deep undercover, man. I wasn't running on FCIC, NCIC. That's controlled through your social security number. So they know exactly who run FCIC, NCIC. And then they lied and said I was on audio tape. So when they played the tape for the jury and the judge, it was the same deputy who arrested me. They was all promoted to a higher rank. And this really gonna blow your mind, Mr. Tillman. You've been in law enforcement for quite some time. Internal Affairs never even called me down there to give me a guaranteed statement. They never called me down there and conduct a thorough, comprehensive investigation to determine whether or not I committed these crimes, sir.
Wow.
When they said I was going to these various states, I'm at work, Mr. Tillman. When they said I was running FCIC, NCIC, I didn't run that information. When they said my name was when my voice was on the audio tape, Mr. Tillman, I'm gonna send you the voice of the gentleman who actually arrested me, and you're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna know it's not my voice, sir. They called him down to Internal Affairs, and he admitted by his own admission that it was him on the tape. And there was an article that was written, missing documents turned up in deputy lawsuit. So the jury came back with a not guilty verdict within 30 minutes, sir.
What was that? The information that was sent that they couldn't, the articles they couldn't find, was that the information that was sent to the judge's personal house?
No, that was later on. That was actually my civil case.
Okay.
So the criminal case, the jury deliberated. They came back with a not guilty verdict within 30 minutes. And of course, I came home and the harassment continued.
So I know that in the book you just said the jury deliberated, and most deliberations last for hours upon hours. And you said in your book they came back in a half hour, when really you found out a little later from another juror that they could have came back within 5 minutes. They already knew what was going on.
Within 10 minutes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So
yes.
So after you were able to come home, I know that's got to be a sigh of relief. What more could happen that was just so damning and just piled up so much that it became more unbearable?
Well, what it is that, first of all, I come home, right? So when I come home, they send me death threats. They parked in the back of my home. They parked in the cul-de-sac, right? And they left on my answer machine that I'd be lying in my room in a pile of blood. Wow. So I call communication, and they dispatched a unit to my home. So when the gentleman arrived there, his name was Rick Watson. So I said, Rick, listen to this audio tape, man. And when he listened to the tape, it said I'll be lying in my room in a pile of blood. And of course, you know, he said, man, you know how these people play. I said, listen, Rick, only thing I need you to do is a 98A Alpha, which is a written report. I said, that's all I need you to do. I went and bought an AK with 180 rounds. I told my mom, you might as well go get your black dress. She said, son, wait a minute. Don't do this, man. I said, Mom, these people want to kill me, man. They want to kill me and my whole family. Wow. I got videos of these people parked in the back of my home, Mr. Tillman. But I'm not even bothering these people. Next thing you know, they stormed my home a second time. January 6th of 2004, they stormed my home again. Over 60-some cops said I was shooting at someone in my backyard. My wife and I, we was in court at the time of the alleged shooting. My neighbor down the street, McCorms, he said, wait a minute, I just saw Patrice and Ray in the elevator at the courthouse, so how could he be the shooter?
Is this the gas station incident that you're talking about?
Yes, this is the second time they came at me.
Right.
Of course,
I think the gas station clerk or attendant.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm there handcuffed in my backyard for almost 6 hours. So I told my wife, I said, don't show him the documents, show him we were in court. So when my wife presented the documents to him, they dissipated. They were all gone. So next thing you know, I receive a letter in the mail. They're charging me with discharging a firearm. So I take that case to trial in front of the judge. The judge said, well, where the victim? We don't have a victim. He said, did you do a ballistic test? No. Where the bullet casing? We don't have any. He said, so where's the officer that generated this probable cause affidavit? He no longer worked for the department. So the state asked for a continuance. He says continuance is denied. We're going to proceed with trial. So within 10 minutes, I was tried by the courts and acquitted by the judge. So I begin to fast and pray, as I always do now. I stay on my knees praying and asking God to intervene. And I go back and when I get a job working with young underprivileged kids and boot camp. And I help 25 kids get a high school diploma and their GED.
Nice.
Next thing you know, you don't have to take my word. Go to Google and type in African American Achievers.com in 2004, and you're going to see me there winning this prestigious award that was it's only given to a Black that goes in the community that makes a difference within their community. And it's actually given to a philanthropist. His name is Jim Moran. And of course, I win this award. Next thing you know, the Broward Sheriff Office stormed my home a third time on October 10th of 2005.
Wow.
This time they're looking to take my life, you know, but my 18-year-old daughter and my 4-year-old son was there.
Wow.
So I asked him, I said, what is this about? We got a warrant for your arrest. I said, here you are. I said, a warrant for my arrest for what? We can't discuss it. I said, here you guys go again. You got a warrant for my arrest, but you can't discuss it. I said, what did I do? We can't discuss it. So I'm 292 pounds. I can't get my arms in back of me. So of course, one of the guys named Robert Crum, who worked narcs sometime with me and other people, he said, man, Ray gonna need a double set of cuffs. So the white sergeant says, F that, put the effing cuffs on him like I told you to. So the two of them engaged in a verbal confrontation that literally almost led to a physical altercation there in the yard. So the sergeant said, go get the shackles. I said, what's the purpose of the shackle? Ray, you a big guy. We don't want any problem. I said, Sergeant, if it was going to be a problem, it'd have been a problem a long time ago. So I get down. So they handcuffed me and shackled me, put me in the car. I get down to the Sally Port. They done called the head, and they had 25 deputies. I'm not even exaggerating, with black gloves waiting on me in the Sally Port.
Wow.
And then one of the guys, his name is Deputy Richard Lee. He'll tell you. He stayed there because he heard it come over the air, and I helped him get the job at the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. So he said, man, let me just stay here, because if Hicks like that, I know I can calm him down, you know? Mm-hmm. So, of course, I'm there. When I arrived there, sir, I'm there talking to a young lady who I went through the crossover academy with, from correction to law enforcement. Her name is Deputy Figueroa. We talking about our families. So when the deputy saw me, you know, not being erratic, as they said I was, or belligerent or irate, you know, they turn around and they all walked inside. So as Lee was booking me in, I said, Lee, what did they book? What did they arrest me for? He said, they arrest you for child abuse. I said, child abuse?
Wow.
I never touched nobody's child. Mr. Tillman, I never even touched my own kids. And he said, you know what, Ray? He said, what's strange about this PC is there is no victim. And he said when he mentioned it to the sergeant told him that it was done administratively, you know, and she had nothing to do with it. So the prosecutor did a thorough investigation. She threw the case out, no pros.
Wow.
But what gets me is the fact that you got all these, the NAACP, I went to the state of, the governor's office, the state representatives, the congressmen, and everybody else, man, you know, the Black Law Enforcement National Association, and pleading my case to them to try to get help. Man, nobody will help me, man. It wasn't until I got in contact with Mr. Mike Zoomer, Miss Jackie Garrett, Mr. Tom Devine, Mr. Robert Ward, Mr. Bobby Ladegard, and some other individuals, Mr. Jeremiah Johnson, and some of these other people who actually have put me in contact with people such as yourself and others to tell my story. I've been telling my story, sir, for almost 21 years now.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you know, I never even knew that a lot of people, they get paid from you know, you coming on, and it depends on how many people, you know, subscribe and all this other stuff. I didn't know nothing about that, but I don't care nothing about that. I wanted to get my story out, Mr. Tillman, because we lost everything, man.
I believe it. Yeah. Going through the multi years of in and out and not working and being locked up and having mental abuse, physical abuse, not only just you and your family. Yes, that takes a huge toll.
Yeah. I mean, there was time my wife took me to the emergency room, like, 5 times? 5 times she took me to the emergency room, you know, because I'm thinking I'm about to have a massive heart attack. I had gas reflux. I get to the emergency room. They hooked me up with EKG and everything else, and the doctor says, you know, you're not having a heart attack. He said, but for some reason you're stressed out. You know, and it's a shame. It's a disgrace, man, because Mr. Tillman, you know, I couldn't even get erection back then, man. You know what I mean? I was so stressed out and so you know, listen, I'm going to be, like I said before, you know, and I look up and I thank God each and every day, because this whole situation, as my sergeant have said to me, Sergeant James Booker said, Ray, if you had not gone through what you went through, you couldn't be an author of a book. If you had not gone through what you went through, you couldn't have gone back to college and graduated with a 3.97 GPA with your bachelor's degree in criminal justice and forensic science. If you had not gone through what you went through, you couldn't have a doctorate degree in theology. So to be honest with you, in spite of everything that I've been through and I've gone through, it implored me to do even more to help the community and inspire young people, to let them know it doesn't make a difference where you come from, it's where you're going at in life. And that's why I look up and I thank God each and every day. And you know what, Mr. Tillman, with my relationship with God, I shook the hand of a gentleman, Keith Neely, who worked in internal affairs, that literally tried to take my life from me, man. I shook his hand and told him that I love him. But I told him, I said, but God loved you the most. But that old Hicks, him and everybody else know that he couldn't even been in my presence. Because I'd have tried to break his freaking jaw. But I thank God that all these things that I've gone through and I've witnessed, You know, I've seen the manifestation of Christ. I've seen the manifestation of Christ. I started drinking. I used to go to the liquor store and guys say to me, man, Big Hicks, what you doing here? You don't even drink, man. And I used to lie to them. I'm not going to sit here and fabricate it. I used to lie to them. I tell them, I said, man, I'm in here to get some stuff for some other people, but I was getting it for myself. So to be honest with you, through it all, I look up and I'm like, Lord, I thank you. You know, I thank you for giving me the willpower. I thank you for allowing me to be able to endure the situation. Mr. Tillman, I was given 24 hours to get out my home. My wife and I built a nice little home in 1995 that cost us close to about 120. You know, I was given 24 hours to get out the door. I had to give away all my furniture and everything. I had to put stuff in storage. My car's repossessed. My finances depleted. My credit destroyed. But I can sit here today and tell you that my God that I serve is an awesome God. My God that I serve will restore whatever the enemy tried to take from you. So my home that I live in now is better than the home that we had. The cars that we had is better than the cars that we had. My finances is getting better as the day go by. My health is getting better as the day go by. My credit, we went from almost an 800 beacon score to 700. But I can tell you, I was doing a speech at the church, and one of the pastors invited me to come and speak. And when I went and spoke it was a men conference. These brothers couldn't even eat their food as I would begin to tell them about the things that I experienced. And when I went to the church that day, Mr. Tillman, the Spirit of the Lord said to me when they had me in the VIP section, apply for this credit card. And I said, Lord, I don't want to apply for another credit card. And the Spirit of the Lord said, apply for this credit card. And Mr. Tim, when I went online and I applied for it, let me just tell you this. When my wife and I had awesome credit, great credit, right? They didn't never give us a $3,000 from the beginning. But I can tell you that day, Discovery approved me for $11,000, sir.
Oh, wow.
Credit card.
Nice.
So when when people say, I'm trusting God, but do you really know God? Do you really know God? When you at the lowest point in your life,
I empathize. It's I know it's a lot to bear, and as you're explaining it, going through this for over 20 years and so, and you writing a book, I'm Still Standing. How are you able to deal with the mental back and forth that's nonstop? I know you get emotional now, rightfully so. How and it's amazing, and I commend you that it has not destroyed you or your family. But how are you able to cope with just mentally able to keep moving and keep going and keep putting one step forward every single day?
My family, my wife, my kids, my mother, and my relationship with Christ, and the great friends, the few friends that I have that I can count on. You know, that's what keeps me going. You know, I can sit down. They ask me, "Have you ever gone to a therapist?" No. Have you ever sat down with a counselor? No. Why? It's not that I'm refusing to, but I can tell you right now, if I sit down and talk with them, my story gonna blow their mind. They're gonna wonder why. How is it that I got through the situation? But I'm gonna tell them it's my relationship with Christ. Mr. Tillman, when I was a young kid growing up in the hood, the ghetto, as we refer to, we didn't have no food on the table, but I saw my mom stretch her arm towards heaven, and she began to pray to God and say, Lord, you see the situation that we're faced with. My mom worked 2 jobs on her hands and knees, cleaning people's homes, and worked for Hogan and Son Packing House, making $1 an hour.
Wow.
So to be honest with you, I saw her pray, and I saw this lady come down the street, Miss Maggie Wallace, with 3 bags of groceries. the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
The Holy Trinity.
So to be honest with you, man, listen, I tell anybody, it's my relationship with the Lord. And sometimes God chooses individuals like us to be an example for others, to let them know that God, he exists. Because when I came home, my wife would tell you, I went back to that when they released me. I went back to that federal detention center. And when I went there, I stretched my arms out towards heaven, and you would have thought them brother was beating a drum from the top floor all the way down to the bottom, rejoicing. Because I told them, I said, you guys gonna see me again. And they literally tried to beg me, big homie, man, you faced with natural life imprisonment, man. This the feds, man. Take the time and go. I said, man, listen, as I told y'all before, I'm gonna trust God. I ain't never did nothing wrong and close to what these people, I never done anything for these people to accuse me of something, of this magnitude and think that they're gonna get away with it. But you gotta ask yourself though, Mr. Tillman, you talk about transparency and accountability. Where is the accountability? All of them was promoted, sir. All of them was promoted. They still work at the Broward Sheriff Office, except for the ones that there's 3 of them that passed away. The gentleman from Internal Affairs, he died. Sergeant Charles Tate. The gentleman who they brought into court and tried to lie on me, to say that on December 24th, 1999, I saw him and his wife at a red light, and he had just got arrested 2 months prior to me being arrested for chasing a man down the street with a gun. And they used this man as an informant. The Broward Sheriff Office paid this man $15,000, $20,000 to come in court and lie on me. So he said that I was on December 24th, 1999, sir. I was at the red light with him and his wife, and I motioned that I was going to shoot the 2 of them. So my attorney subpoenaed his wife, who worked for the Postal Service. And the lady came in there. My attorney said, do you know my client sitting next to me? She said, I've never seen this man a day in my life. He said, well, I want you to take a good look at him because your husband just testified that on December 24th, 1999, my client saw the 2 of you at the red light and he motioned with his finger that he was going to shoot you. She said, my husband telling a lie. She said, me and my husband wasn't even together at the time that he said that, and she said, you can't believe what he says. He's a compulsive liar. And you know what, Mr. Tillman? He's deceased now. He had 5 strokes, couldn't eat, couldn't feed himself, couldn't change himself, no nothing. He just died recently. And also the gentleman who arrested me at my home that was on the audio tape where they said it was my voice. He just died not about 4 or 5 months ago. Romans 12 and 17 say, repay no evil for evil. God said, vengeance is mine. I repay, said the Lord. He said, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he thirsty, give him a drink. By doing so, it's like taking hot coals and placing them on the top of their head. Man, they took something from me that I love, Mr. Tillman. I didn't like my job. I loved my job. And anyone that would tell you, and watch this, I say this and I shut up. Mr. Tillman, do you not know that I won a life-saving award while I was an inmate?
Yes,
I won a life-saving award. And then when I came home, I was honored by the warden of the institution. I saved this guy's life as an inmate. And when I came home, it's all these things that these people have concocted, it's a lie. It's a lie. Right. And one thing is for sure, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep telling my story. I'm going to keep believing. I'm going to keep the faith. And one day, God is going to allow me and my family an opportunity to speak about our ordeal at the highest level. And I'm just hoping and praying that it will inspire other men and women who wears the uniform that don't get out there and do things that that's going to bring discredit to you and your family, your name, your reputation, and the agency that you work for. You take an oath.
Right hand up.
So to be honest with you, I took that oath. I put my life on the line each and every day. Mr. Tillman, you don't know me, but you ask anybody that worked at the Bronx Sheriff Office, they'll tell you that I was one of the best. So to be honest with you, through it all, I look up my kids. As I mentioned to you, they were 12, 7, and 4. All these kids have graduated high school with honors. My daughter's graduated college with honors. Nice. My oldest daughter, she won the Honor Society Award with a 4.0 GPA with a bachelor. She got her master's at Nova Southeast University. And she's going to get a doctorate right now. She's a school teacher. My youngest daughter, 30 years of age, graduated from Florida A&M University with honors. She's a school teacher. My son, who just turned 20 years of age, worked for the Department of Homeland Security. So to be honest with you, my wife and I, we've been together for 39 years, married 37 years. So to be honest with you, I've always taken care of my family. I said, you know, you may think I'm lying, but my wife will tell you, my wife and I have been the backbone for my entire family, sir.
I can see, and it's still going strong. Like you used a couple references before. Your story sounds a lot like Job. You lost a lot in the beginning, but the second half you get more at the second season of the lifetime. So the what you did lose and the impact that it had, and the heavy tolls that it's taken. Second season, you'll get that times whatever God says. I want to say 2, maybe times 10. Who knows?
But one thing is for sure, and I just hope and pray that I can go on and inspire other young kids, man. That's why I created the Raymond L. Hicks LLC Foundation, you know, to give back to the community. My wife and I, we've been doing it for almost 10, 11 years now, you know, and I do it. I don't make a lot of money, but I make enough money, you know, to help support my family. My wife, she's been with the Postal Service for 37 years now, you know. So to be honest with you, Mr. Tillman, you know, through it all, man, you know, what are we doing to make a difference? See, but as I said before, there has to be transparency and accountability in law enforcement. But I'm very optimistic that things can be a lot better when you got the right peoples in place. My wife and I have gone to the FBI, sir, and I submitted all the documents and audio tapes and everything to them. And they said to me, this is the highest level of public corruption. This is crazy. When I was interviewed by Miss Jane Turner, she was former FBI, 26 years. And she says, oh my God, Mr. Hicks, I've heard some stories. And you know what she said? She said, I know you're telling the truth, young man, because if you were moving that kind of weight, the DEA, the FBI, the ATF, the marshals and everybody else would have been on you. They would have had you up on the strict surveillance. But I'm at work every single day. You know why I know that, Mr. Tillman? It's because of the fact, Lord, I thank you. It's because of the fact that I went back and got my rec records. When I got my investigator license, I went back and investigated my own case. I told him, I said, where's the audio tape that you guys lied and said you gave me a garage statement? You know what they told me? Mr. Hicks, all your records has been destroyed.
Wow.
I said, but you said I was going to these various states, but I got records showing that I'm at work. So everything they said, I refuted, Mr. Tillman. It's not what I said. I got it in black and white, sir. But these people was looking to take my life, man. You know, but one thing is for sure, I'm not running from nobody. And to answer your question, we fast forward and we go to trial. They come telling me, Mr. Hicks, they gave me my back pay, right? They give me $100,000 back pay. My attorney, the union who I was affiliated with, FOPE, they had a fiduciary duty to represent me or get me a lawyer. They told me, well, we're not getting involved because of the complexity of your case. I said, what do you mean? You guys take my money every 2 weeks? Oh, well, we're not getting involved. Next thing you know, I'm saying to myself, so the attorney who was representing me on my civil case that we filed for malicious prosecution, false arrest, imprisonment, and a violation of my constitutional civil rights and supervision retention and destruction of evidence, he said, Ray, I sit in on the case. But when they gave me the $100,000, he took 40% of my money, my back pay money. And I said to myself, you know, this is absurd, man. So finally we go to trial. They offer me another $100,000. We go to mediation. Ray, we're going to give you, I said, no, you're not going to give me no $100,000. I'm going to trial. So we get the trial. To answer your question, Mr. Chairman, we get the trial, right? So when we get the trial, they choose an all-white jury. And as the jury began to listen to me, my mom, my wife, and my kids testify, and people from the community and my bosses, my former supervisors and the counsel from the federal prison, all of a sudden the jurors begin to cry. They're in tears. And of course, the counsel for the sheriff said, Your Honor, we asked for a recess. Now, granted, how about this? The judge who presided over my case, Mr. Tillman, he said there was a Supreme Court order allowing him to try the case. Sir, there was never no Supreme Court order ever done. And I'm going to tell you why I know that, because all of a sudden when he granted the recess, he said we were convened on Monday morning. It was on a Friday evening. He came back that Monday morning and said, before I bring the jury out, let's go on record. So he said, over the course of the weekend, I received a certified package to my home from the defense counsel via FedEx. And he gave a directed verdict and kicked me and my family out of court. And the sheriff attorney laughed at me and my family as we were walking by. And the jurors must have thought that we came to a settlement agreement, because they was basically looking at saying, we hope that you guys got everything that you were looking for. But unbeknown to them, we never got a dime. And what I did is I wrote the bar. I wrote a thorough letter to the bar, explaining everything I'm conveying to you, sir. So they gave the attorney for the sheriff's office 2 weeks to respond to my complaint. And of course, my attorney, who I found out was in bed with them, he wrote a letter. And if you look in the back of the book, it's titled Relief from Judgment, stating that judge who presided over the case, there was never no Supreme Court order allowing him to try the case. And also, I must back up a second. So the first judge, he was directly involved in my criminal case, and he wound up with my civil case. And he also had a high-ranking, he had a brother who was a high-ranking official at the Broward Sheriff's Office and Human Resources. He was a major. So an attorney called my lawyer and said, hey, if I'm not mistaken, exactly. So the judge, so the attorney called my attorney and said, hey, if I'm not mistaken, this judge was directly in Hicks' criminal case. So how could he be presiding over the civil case? And I asked the same question. He said, well, they do that all the time. I said, what do you mean they do that all the time? And all of this stuff I'm telling you is in the back of my book, because I put appendix in the back of the book, Mr. Tillman. And do you not know that judge signed a letter of recusal dismissing himself from the case? So to be honest with you, all of this stuff, all these people, everybody was planted, man. But through it all, Raymond Lamar Hicks ain't running from nobody. I'm definitely not intimidated by nobody, and I'm not infuriated by nobody, and I'm not going nowhere. And it's a shame. Like I said, I didn't do nothing wrong. What did I do wrong? I did nothing wrong. But I lost everything we ever worked for. Why? Because these people thought I was going to throw them under the bus? Man, it's a shame. It's a disgrace, Mr. Tillman. Like I said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, man. I finally got a job working with the Department of Homeland Security through a subcontractor. Within 1 year, I become a lieutenant. The next year, I become an active captain. I was a SWAT commander for ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, for the DCT team, Disturbance Control team. They give me the task to do an investigation on one of the employees, saying that she come in contact with an inmate when she worked at a correctional institution, and she later married this person. And of course, they give me the file for me to do the investigation. And when I conducted an investigation on her, sir, she came in as a regular detention officer. Then she was promoted to a quality assurance manager, and the project manager and the deputy project manager left. So she became the deputy project manager. And she found out that I'm the one who did the investigation on her, because they found out that she did, in fact, come in contact with this inmate when she worked at South Bay Correctional Institution. She later married this individual and had a kid from him. How do I know that? Because I had the marriage certificate, which is public records. And your next thing you know, guess what happened? They fired me. I filed a discrimination harassment wrongful termination, discrimination, harassment lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But they took something from me that I love. Why? Because they told me to do a job. I did what they asked me to do. So to be honest with you, man, it's been a roller coaster for me, Mr. Tillman.
I can only imagine, yeah.
You know, I was telling some of the guys that I work with now, I do security work, and these guys retired from NYPD. One of them told me, said, man, I began to explain to him everything I'm conveying to you, Mr. Tillman. And he said, oh, effing no, man. And you know, he said to me, he said, man, I would have effing killed myself. I said, why would you do that? He said, I've lost everything, man. And, you know, my life is destroyed. I said, no, your life is not destroyed. I said, if you talking and you breathing, if you can look up, you can get up.
Mm-hmm. Famous quote from Les Brown.
You know? Yeah, if you can look up, you can get up. So to be honest with you, I'm looking up, man. Yeah. I'm gonna get up. Yeah, I'm listen. And the only thing I've ever said is to inspire somebody else, man. You know, and I'm gonna do that, Mr. Tillman. You know, I don't have no ill feelings towards law enforcement, man. You know, because there's a lot of men and women that put the uniform on out there every day to make a difference, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, I still love law enforcement to this day, because I never forget when I was that young kid, man, how they inspired me and pulled me away. You know, if you talk to my mom, listen, where I come from, man, these people don't play, man. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about they vicious, man. My mom shot my uncle in the foot because my cousin took a football from me, man. You know, it's you know, and that's what I'm saying. Listen, it's serious, man. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, I'm not trying to live this kind of life, and I definitely don't want my family living this type of life. No, I don't want to live in the hood, because you know what, Mr. Tillman, a lot of people who grew up a lot of people will never understand the magnitude of why people do what they do in the hood. Mm-hmm. But a lot of this stuff comes from the home, man. Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff is experienced from the home, man. You see this stuff goes on each and every day. If you first of all, if you're in that type of environment, you know, you can easily become a product of your environment. Because where we come from, you know, man, if you don't know how to fight, you got a problem, man. Mm-hmm. So, you know, listen, man, I didn't join law enforcement, you know, to beat folks down or to mistreat them or inhumane. That's not me, man. But if I need to fight with somebody, anybody will tell you. And I tell you what, Mr. Tillman, you don't have to take my word. The same dude who I told you who had a shootout with the former sheriff, Scott Israel, when he was a regular patrolman before he became sheriff, do you not know that brother gave me a job as a laborer? He became my boss. And he stopped my wife without my wife even knowing him. He said, man, listen, hey, Miss Hicks, you don't know me, but I want to send this here to Hicks for his commissary. He gave my wife, $40? He gave her $40. And say, send this to him. And when I came home, he found out that I needed a job. He gave me a job as a laborer. He was my boss.
Nice. So angel in your corner.
You see? So the fact of the matter is that you got to be careful how you treat people on your way going up, Mr. Tillman, because you're going to meet them on your way down. Mm-hmm. It's guaranteed. What goes up has to come down. And depending on how you go up, which my mother have always said, going to determine your fall on your way coming down, man. And to be honest with you, a lot of people have stood up. You ain't got to take my word. I get them on your platform and they'll tell you about me. I'm talking about career criminals, man. People who will blow your freaking brains out if you get their time wrong, you know, kill you and your whole family and think nothing of it, you know. But these are individuals that I've helped change their lives around, and they're doing well now. That guy, Gaston Akins, he owned his own construction company. Mm-hmm. This is the type of difference that I made in the community, sir. As a matter of fact, I just became a member of Phi Beta Sigma, Gamma Gamma Sigma here in Fort Lauderdale. One of the hardest things that I ever done in my entire life, I'm assuming. But one thing is for sure, man, listen, I was determined to get this here. With the help of my wife and my daughters and some of my frats, man, do you not know I won the highest award? I won the highest award, Mr. Tillman. And it's never been done in the history of Phi Beta Sigma that one frat received 2 awards within 1 year. Wow! I won the Brotherhood Award and I won the Community Service Award.
And that just goes to show your passion for the community and helping turn around the wayward mindset to make a negative into a positive.
But we have to do that though, Mr. Tillman. That's what we here for. If you're not making a difference, if you ain't trying to help somebody, do you not know we got family members that we don't even talk to, man? You'll tell a person out in the streets that you love them quicker than you tell your own family that you love them. And these are people that you're around each and every day. But there's so much hatred and malice, man, you know, with our people that I'm saying to myself, I watched this go on ever since a little boy. I don't want to live that kind of life. I don't teach my kids this kind of stuff. Man, listen, when I tell you one thing is for sure, I done started on, I actually met with a gentleman. We actually getting ready to try and put a trailer together, you know, and, but I can tell you right now, because some of the people that I spoke to about my story, you know, they said, man, listen, we don't want you to just tell your words, your story to the United States. We want your word to go, your story to go internationally. And that was Mr. Tom Devine. He said he's gonna try and get me and my family in front of Congress.
Okay.
But you won't.
I hope that happens. I hope things go well.
Well, you know, one thing is for sure, Mr. Tillman, you won't hear me say nothing negative about law enforcement, man. And thank you for your services, sir. You know,
thank you for your service. Absolutely. Not a problem.
Because one thing is for sure, man, you know, we set the tone and the precedent, man, for the people. You know, I tell anybody, I'm an eagle, man. I'm an eagle and I'm a lion. And I believe in that, you know, because eagles don't run away from storms.
Two powerful animals. The eagle can fly directly into the sunset. It's one of the only birds that can fly directly into the sunset and not be bothered.
And you know what? And not only that, sir, the eagle goes into the storm. Because the storm takes the eagle higher than the storm. And the eagle can see most things that people can't see. So and the lion is not the lion is just a roar of a lion. And the lion is not intimidated by nobody. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, man. You know, I just look up and I thank God, you know, for each and everything that He's doing in our lives. And I just hope and pray that my story can inspire others, you know, and let them know, man, no matter how many trials and tribulation we go through, you know.
Let me ask you this: if anybody who's watching this or maybe watching the replay, they haven't gotten a copy of it, I got mine on Amazon through Audible. I listened to mine, and you guys who are on the platform, you can do the same. But if they wanted to get a copy of your book, is Amazon the only place available for it? If they go to Amazon and type your name or type in "I'm Still Standing"?
Well, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. But you have to go on, you know, online. Ingram Publishing, they actually heard about my story. And of course, I was only charging $5.97 for the book when I first published it back in 2015. I self-published my book because I didn't want nobody controlling any aspect of what I had to say, you know. And of course, Ingram Publishing, you know, read the book, and that's how I was able to get it into Barnes and Noble online and Walmart online. And it's also audio book, which I was told that it was a bestseller on audio book, and it's also on the Kindle Fire as well.
Okay, all right. And I don't mean to cut you short, but we're at the hour and a half mark, so I got to shut things down soon. But I definitely appreciate you coming on the platform, sir. And I got to cut to a commercial, and I'm gonna ask you one more question. So stay tuned.
All right. He's a cop too, and see that's why they asked me, like, you know.
Hey, how you guys doing? This is Sergeant Be Safe, and I'm back in the office again. I know the brand new year has already started, and we're well into 2023. And guess what? It will soon be getting warm outside, and you'll be wanting to do outdoor activities. Be mindful of your surroundings and the company you keep. And if you have to go out by yourself, always keep a vigilant eye. I want you guys to remain safe. Here, I'll give you a scenario. This good citizen decided to take advantage of the warm weather and went for a jog.
Look at this guy not paying attention, looking like a straight victim.
And here comes treacherous Tony on the prowl, Fortunately, I have with me Captain Chaos and his K9 Kraken.
This is your captain speaking.
And we'll work together to apprehend Treacherous Tony before he does something dangerous. Put him up, Treacherous Tony. You're coming with me.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
Listen to Sergeant Be Safe. He gives the best safety tips.
Hey, thank you very much. Take it from Captain Chaos and me. I'm Sergeant Be Safe. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you guys for tuning in. We had a tremendous guest with a tremendous story. Got his own self-published book that it just explains the story. You can see he gets emotional about it. You can see it, rightfully so. He brought us through his childhood, through the middle of the story, and now we're here toward the end of the interview right now. Mr. Hicks, I appreciate you coming on the show and donating your time and sharing your story. It's quite an experience. It's not very easy to do. And through the course of our conversation, I may have jogged your memory or I may have skipped some things. Right? Is there anything that you'd like to share with us during the follow-up that you would like to share with us on the platform? Right now, the floor is yours. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied.
Well, first of all, as I mentioned to you before, first and foremost, I want to tell you that I love you, man. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Tillman, just to address my situation, and like I said before, I just hope and pray that one day, my wife and kids are afforded an opportunity, to speak about their experience as well, because I'm a firm believer that when you speak about it, it relieves the pressure and the stress and anxiety that you may have built up inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
When you could talk about these different things that have transpired, and of course, I would like to encourage all the peoples out there to let them know that, not every cop that wears a uniform is a bad person, because when I wore the uniform, I wore it very proudly. I took pride in my job. I love my job. To this day, I still love law enforcement. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of great men and women that actually wear a uniform that's making a difference. And we pray for each and every individual, man, that's out there putting their lives on the line each and every day. But some of these individuals, man, that can go out there and belittle, degrade people because they have a gun and a badge, they should not be working for these departments, because it brings discredit to them as well as the agency that they work for and their family. And it's a shame. It's a disgrace, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we empathize with your story. We hope the best for you. And I want to watch you flourish and be able to I'm glad I could be a platform and a sounding board to help you get your story out to even more listeners and people out here on the community. I hope it goes further. I know you're still standing, like you said. I know you're still fighting the fight. I hope you get some sort of resolution sooner than later about this whole turmoil and this game-changing, life-changing situation that you've experienced.
Well, I just hope and pray that God continue to use you, my brother, because you're definitely making a difference in the lives of so many different people, Mr. Tillman. When you listen to gentlemen like Mr. Bobby Latigar, the young lady who was from Tallahassee, the cop from Tallahassee, and some of these other individuals, man, that works in law enforcement that are experiencing these hard and humiliating things, a lot of people don't even have a voice to even speak about it. A lot of people are reluctant to even come forward when they see these things happen because of repercussion and retaliation, But I hope and pray, and I will continue to pray for you and your platform, that God continue to bless you and your family, man, and your podcast where you reach, peoples all over the world, and I just hope and pray that you continue to grow and just know that you're making a difference, man, because, a lot of people like myself, whistleblowers, man, who see things happen in these departments and these agencies, man, you come forth and you go through these tragic situations and whatnot, it's heart-wrenching, man. A lot of people can't do it. I don't think there's many people that can go through a fraction of what I've gone through and been through, and still be standing today to speak about it. But I will be praying for you, man, and your entire platform. Again, I love you, my brother. Thank you so much, for affording me an opportunity to address me and my family situation that we've experienced. And I just hope and pray that it can inspire somebody else in their family, man.
I'm pretty sure it will. I appreciate it. And like I said, you got a friend right here, so this won't be the last time that we talk. And I appreciate you coming on and making yourself available. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tillman.
Right. Yep.
All right.
You.
God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you.
Yep. I'll just hang out right there. I'll talk to you right after, as soon as we finish behind, as soon as I shut down the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for tuning in. This is Black and Blue. This is the platform where we go live weekly. We go live weekly with a special guest, whether they have their experiences, their trainings, or their publications. And they go live and they explain their stories, they explain their experiences on here, whether they're rookie season or retirees. This is Black and Blue. If you're learning more, if you're trying to learn more about police work, this is the podcast for you. If you're already in the game and you want to hear different sides of the story, or you experience something similar, this is the platform for you. This is the platform where we get those stories out, and it's interactive. So thank you guys for tuning in. 10-4, over and out.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Sergeant Be Safe here, and I'm stuck in the office. I'm stuck. You want to know why? I'll be completing reports for stolen vehicles. Yeah, that's right, stolen vehicles. I tell people all the time to lock their doors and put away their valuables. However, this continues to happen. Do you know that about approximately 95% of all auto thefts can be prevented? Here, let's go for a walk and I'll show you a few examples. Example number 1. You go to the store and you leave your car running. Little do you know that Chance Wilder's on the prowl. He sees your car running with the door unlocked, gets in it, and they're off! Have to start.
Oh no!
Frustrating. Let's move on to example number 2. You're at home and the car's parked for the day. But you feel safe and secure and believe this could never happen to me. And there's Rob You Blind going from car to car. Just got caught though.
Pooper, be safe.
Hands up. You're coming with me.
Ooh.
People leave their car doors unlocked, and believe it or not, their keys in them. Here's video footage of someone going onto someone's driveway and entering their car, and guess what? Stealing that too. Even if you don't keep your car key, don't keep your spouse's key in the vehicle either. Believe it or not, they park right beside you. So therefore, take the extra step, lock your vehicle, and take your keys inside. So here's a little bit of information for you. If your car is ever stolen, and then I find it and recover it, it's usually not in the same condition that it once was. It could have been involved in a motor vehicle accident because of joyriding, or just have more dents, scratches, damage on it. You'll get an incident report and a tow bill. Your insurance company may cover the towing and recovering fee, but you could also have to come out of pocket with some extra expenses. So now let's move on to example number 3. Parking lots at major businesses are prime target. Lock your doors, put valuables away, park in well-lit areas, and definitely do not, I cannot stress it any harder, leave your vehicle running in the parking lot. Because no matter how many times Rob You Blind and Wild Chance go to jail, they will always take advantage of a prime opportunity to take your valuables or steal your vehicle. Don't be an easy target. Hands up, you both are coming with me. Ooh. These are just a few examples of how you can protect yourself and be vigilant with your property. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
I'm over here counting my stash. Cooper, get out of here. Last time you got me in trouble with Be Safe. This is a good spot to sell my drugs.
Sergeant, be safe. We just got a call for suspicious activity. Copy that, dispatch. Captain Chaos and his K9 Kraken along with me are just now arriving on the scene. We'll stop and check it out. 10-4, Sergeant, be safe.
Oh no, cops! I'm out of here.
Release the Kraken.
Hey, we see your drugs over there. Stop running, treacherous Tony. We will get you.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
Yeah, you say that all the time.
I'm sick of going to jail.
Illegal drugs are a bad decision. Just ask treacherous Tony. This isn't a good view. Take it from me, Sergeant Be Safe. I want you to make good decisions. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.